street fighter, made himself famous,
Dada
made his way
5000
into
on the
the
Dan
MMA, was a
Levitard
whispered
show.
secret on the internet, menacing,
Shout out New Generation
and Dada
Fighter.
5000 was part of his camp. You may know the movie Dogfight. Billy Corben produced it. Cocaine Cowboys, The U. He's done some work for ESPN, and he is following Dada 5000 around doing a sequel to Dogfight. Dada and Kimbo Slice fought at Bellator, and it was gruesome to watch. Both of them by the third round looked so spent, and I think Dada would agree with this because he was dehydrated, he was dying, he was literally dying in the octagon. I feel like I could have beaten both of you if I had walked into the octagon in the third round fresh by knocking your heads against each other because he was so tired and because you were in the middle of kidney failure.
Yes, that's a very, very fair assumption. Thank you guys for having me. Listen, when my kidneys went down, I kind of felt it, right? And, I prided myself inside the backyard on telling my guys, these guys that went inside these rings, like, you're not going to come out. You're not guaranteed to come out.
The same way you went in.
Right? And not to give up, to dig down deep, not to quit. So when I felt my body changing, that was the first thing I was like, I cannot quit. When my mouth went dry, I fought hard as I could. When my kidneys shut down, the next thing to go was my heart. But I stated if this guy didn't knock me out, I was going to have to die, for me to lose this fight. And I stated it inside Dogfight 1, off of Rocky 4. To beat me, you have to kill me. But to kill me, you first have to have the heart to stand in the front of me. And to do that, then you have to be willing to die yourself.
Yeah.
And I was willing to die,
And did die.
Thank God, he saw fit to bring me back.
When you say you felt it, what did it feel like?
Wow. It's like your body just lock up on you, and you couldn't sweat. There was no sweat coming from me. It's like the worst feeling of dehydration, like you're out inside of a desert, and there's no water. Almost equivalent to being out there for about 10 or 15 days.
But when did you realize it, though? When inside of the fight did you realize your body was shutting down?
I would say ending of the first round, going into the second round, like when I got up off that stool, it's like I seen 3 of the guys, and something just said, go for the one in the center, and at that point I knew that, I was compromised.
Well, what was happening there? Is it a combination of you cutting weight when you're not familiar with cutting weight and cutting weight poorly combined with the adrenaline?
Here we go, bombshell.
So that you're a little bit spent by the time you're arriving at the first seconds of the fight?
I would really state that, my cutting weight, I think I did it, inside of a timely fashion. I wish I would have had more time, to prepare. But I think that, I came down to 265, and I was feeling good, up until, that fight moment. So when I got inside the ring, of course, the adrenaline is pumping, everything is going, so it was pretty much go time. So it could have been a combination, of all of the above.
Did you cut weight poorly?
I ate right. I probably pushed myself, instead of, taking a couple months, I probably double timed it, so I wouldn't say poorly. I think that my body was not used to because I was a full-time fighter, so I don't fight regular. I'm a promoter, I'm a matchmaker, I do a lot of things inside the organization, and inside the backyard. So I'm a part-time dude. So I fight like every couple of years. So at the end of the day, I think that, by my body, having so much time being off, and to push it from 0 to 60, that could be, something to focus on.
If you're not familiar with what it is we're talking about, Dogfight was a film. It's very gritty. It's in Perrine, backyard fighting. Kimbo Slice helped make it famous. It's just bare-knuckle fighting, and it's in the street, and it's very tough people doing it in a rough part of Miami. Dada 5000 was the ringleader on that stuff. Can you tell us what the last couple of months have been like?
Wow, it's been, I would say, hell, because I went through a transitional period inside my life. Because when I actually fell inside that ring, Kimbo Slice never touched me. You know, I had a heart attack. So when I slammed against the cage and I went down, you know, that was just the beginning. You know, and they had the hardest time bringing me back. If no one wanted me to make it, you know, I think that the devil was really on me at that point. Because with the medical, the gurney got stuck inside the back of the ambulance. You know, and it took them, you know, minutes to actually, you know, get it off. And you know how you let it up to make it stable to pull it? They couldn't even let it up. Then when we got to the hospital, you know, they couldn't even get inside the doors. You know, and I'm just blessed, fortunate to be here.
The Lord was looking out for you.
Still is on dialysis, you know, for the kidney situation. You stated something earlier. You was like, Dada, you are thinner. You know, I've always been a pretty big guy. You know, the kidney situation, you know, renal failure, it was rhabdomyolysis. It's a breakdown of protein inside the body, and it hit all muscles. You know, the next day I was paper thin. It was almost like a magic trick. It was crazy.
Man, that was crazy. Did Kimbo reach out at all? Was he supportive?
I think that, you know, they did, you know, reach out to my camp, you know, to see how I was doing. You know, I haven't really focused on it too much because I was just making, you know, a recovery, you know, and I wasn't really inside of a position to talk or to meet up, you know, because I was in a boat.
Can you explain to us what it is to die? Like they said to you that legally, heart attack, dead, the doctor said twice, correct?
Yes, I coded twice, yes.
What was that?
Pretty much, you know, when my heart stopped and because of the situation with the kidneys, and I kept going, and the kidneys is the organ, the heart is a muscle, you know? So when the kidneys shut down, you know, and I'm still pushing, you know, the next thing to go, you know what I'm saying, was the heart. So when my heart had stopped, you know, it's like I was out of it. I didn't remember nothing. When they brought me back, I was inside the hospital, you know, and they said that I had 2 heart attacks, and it's on paper that we could provide to you guys. I had 2 heart attacks, and I coded twice, you know, and for me, I was just thanking God, like, yo, I'm here, you know, for a real reason, because it's individuals out there that didn't go through a fraction of what I went through, and they're no longer breathing, you know, and somebody asked me, they said, Dada, what was it like? You know, I'm gonna tell you something, you know, I was dead, you know, when you talk about your spirit leaving your body, right, looking at the light, you know, but it's not your time to go, and you actually, you know what I'm saying, like, get brought back, that was my situation, you know, because I was pronounced, you know, dead, and they kept working, you know, and I died minutes apart.
What do you remember consciously?
I was
What do you
there,
remember?
front
What's
row,
the
I
last
saw
thing
it.
you remember? Give us the time period. The last thing that you remember in the fight and what you experienced before the next time you became totally conscious.
You know, I remember bits and pieces of the second round, right, where I hit Kimbo and he just dropped his hand, right? And I'm looking at a home run at that point. But my body was so done, I couldn't even follow up. And even when he was on all fours and I was tapping him, I'm thinking, yo, if I would have had a little bit more power, that would have been over at that point, you know? So I was feeling like, yo, I was anxious. I was, you know, like thinking to myself, like, what is actually going on with me? I didn't know at that time, you know, medically, that my kidneys had locked up on me and that I was having a heart attack, you know? And the last thing that I remember is that, you know, I was leaning on him, you know, and he shifted away from me. He swung, but he missed, and I stumbled, and I went down. The next thing I woke up, you know, was hours later, and I was inside, you know, the hospital.
And the doctors, or who is it that informed you that you had flatlined twice?
The doctors. Yeah, they told me, they was like, you're extremely lucky. And I was sitting back and I was like blessed. You know, what's so interesting about that is this. You know, I come from a spiritual background, you know, and I'm laying on the gurney, the bed. Now, they say when a person is inside of a coma, be careful of what you say because they can hear you, but they cannot respond. You know, to you, the last thing that goes is your hearing. So I'm listening to the doctors say, well, listen, we have to drill a hole inside of his head. You know, we have to release the pressure on his brain. You know, we have to put this chip or something inside so we could get the response from him that we want, you know. And my brothers then was like, no, you're not doing that, you know. So they was telling me, they was like, Dada, if you hear what they're trying to do to you, you know, move your hand, move your right hand. And I couldn't. I was stuck. I had to really will myself into existence.
So you couldn't move anything. You could hear that conversation taking place with the doctors, and so you were in a coma, lost, but you could hear what was happening in that hospital room.
Yes, and I was screaming to the top of my lungs, no, do not let them do that to me.
No.
You know,
Wow.
and I'm gonna tell you something. My will, you know, to live, you know, superseded anything else, and I really, you know, just focused on my hands, and I moved my hands, and he was like, Doc, listen, look. He's moving his hands. Move your other hand. And I moved my other hand. The doctor said, no, that's just nerves. And it was like,
So your brothers were looking for a sign, and you gave it to them.
Yes.
And they believed it.
Yes, and if they were not there to really push me, I probably wouldn't have gave the effort.
So you're saying your brothers in that instance brought that out of you. Your brothers felt it and believed it and told the doctors, yeah, we're not drilling any holes in his head.
Yeah, they were dead set against that. And, you know, my will to live, my will to actually, you know, like come out of this, and I give God all the glory.
Amen.
You know, with that inspiration, you know, the doctor was like, wow, it's a miracle. And it was like, no, it's God. You haven't seen anything yet. And later that day, you know, I'm laying back, and my eyes just opened up a little bit. And then I actually, you know, opened them up. You know, and they had
The Lord's
tubes and
looking out for you,
everything,
brother.
running down my throat. They had not originally wrote me off.
Well, you told us here before we came on air, and we'll let you go here in a second, but you told us that you wouldn't wish the last 2 months of your life on anybody, not even your worst enemy. When you think of the scariest time or the details of the moments that were darkest, do you have anything that even comes close to what you just told us about listening to what the doctor conversation was with your brothers? Is there anything within the last couple of months that comes close to feeling as bad as that?
Not at all. You know, I came from Miami. You know, I was in shape, you know, to put on the best fight that I was capable of putting on, you know, in front of millions of fans in a sold-out arena. And I didn't think that, you know, medical, you know, individuals like doctors and so forth would be so quick to just say, hey, yeah, this guy, he's gone. Look, we're rubbing his feet. Even people in comas, you know, we're rubbing their feet, we're rubbing, you know, certain parts of their body, and we still get a response from them. We're getting nothing, you know, from him. You know, so I'm truly blessed. And
Your family members were probably being told you're done, right? He's gone. Yes?
well, they were telling that because they were allowing two at a time to come in. My mom never went in. She wouldn't have been able to handle me looking like how I was looking
Sister.
at that time. You know, but that's a part of the business. You know, I mean, you're gonna come out with black eyes. You know, it was a guy just overseas just the other night. I think it was in Dublin. You know, he died because of multiple strikes. You know, and inside this is a hurt business. You know, inside boxing, inside MMA, even inside backyard. Thank God we never had no fatalities. But you're not guaranteed to walk out how you walk in. That's why it's not for everybody. Some people was just born to be spectators.
I'm one of them. Dada, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it, sir. Good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you. And I just want to plug something, you know, that we have Dogfight 2 that we're actually working on, you know, and we're pillars of strength inside of the community. You
Yes,
know,
we
have
are.
fighters like Whiteboy Rene Rodriguez, you know, new generation fighters. And these guys, they're taking their time out, feeding the homeless, you know, giving out haircuts. You have over 4,000 homeless people in Miami. You know,
Amen,
that
Lord.
individuals ride by every day. But, you know, we instill, you know, that inside these guys that when you are on social media, when you are on the internet, right, you become larger than life to most of these individuals out there. So you are held to a higher standard. You know, you get out there and you put your life on the line every time you're inside these rings, inside these cages, right? So it's all about giving back, and giving back is better than actually receiving, you know. And these guys, you know, they're more than just fighters, you know, level, as you're familiar with. You know, they're actually, you know, stand-up citizens inside the community.
Yes, they are,
Lives
serving the
have
King of
changed, and
Kings.
they see, you know, a greater good. And if they could play a part in actually changing the way society is, I encourage them to do it. We give out thousands of turkeys, toys every December, you know, school supplies, book bags, you know, and this is something that we do because we're still inside the community and we see that there's a need for it, you know, and I'm just a spokesman for the movement. You know, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than all of us. So I just try to play my part every chance, you know, that I get, and hopefully I can make a change inside the community that we reside in.
Happy to have you
Amen.
still with us, brother. Thank you for making the time for us.
Hey, thank
New
you,
generation
guys.
fighter.
And last but not least, BYB Extreme. We have the last event that we did is online for free at BYB Extreme. You know, you could go and you could watch it. So for those that's out there that don't have an understanding, they can log on to YouTube at The Real Dada 5000. Follow me on social media at The Real Dada 5000 and go and watch the stuff that we're doing so you can see the evolution of what's next.
This is the Dan Levitar Show on ESPN Radio.
That's right. Dada 5000, man. We love you. We thank you for your leadership and everything you've done for your community. And Whiteboy Rodriguez and Cam and everybody that wants to join forces, we want to take care of business when it comes to homeless people and bringing awareness to things within communities and communities being strong again and not being divided and separated. So support New Generation Fighter, Team 5000 all the way, sfcclothes.com.